Dr. Amanda Walker stretched her neck, staring at the holographic display hovering above the Galactic Council's assessment chamber. The massive crystalline beings called the Xyrex shifted in their seats, their faceted bodies refracting light across the marble-like floor. Behind them, representatives of 12 other species watched with varying degrees of interest as she prepared to deliver her analysis of humanity. "Distinguished council members," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "After 6 months of covered observation, I can confidently classify humans as a Category 4 developing species." She gestured to the display, showing various human cities, social gatherings, and daily activities. Their technological development is progressing along expected lines, with no significant anomalies. High Counselor Angsvith, a towering Xyrex elder, leaned forward. "Your preliminary reports mentioned concerns about their violent tendencies. Have these been addressed?" Amanda nodded, pulling up crime statistics and conflict resolution data. While humans do display aggressive behaviors, they're no more violent than any other social species at this development stage. Their lack of natural defenses has led them to create complex social structures and legal systems to prevent conflict. In the back of the chamber, a serpentine Shirith observer flicked their tongue, tasting the air. "They seem rather fragile," they noted, examining an anatomical display of human physiology. No protective scales, minimal muscle density compared to Class 3 worlds, and their sensory capabilities are remarkably limited. Across the galaxy, Lieutenant James Cooper stood at the window of Houston Space Center, watching the civilian researchers from the Galactic Council examine their facilities. His fingers drummed against the glass, a habit from his Marine Corps days that he'd never quite shaken. Something about the aliens' behavior nagged at him. Their movements too precise, their questions too pointed. "Sir," Private Sarah Miller approached, tablet in hand, "I've compiled the data you requested about our visitors' observation patterns." Cooper took the tablet, his eyes narrowing as he studied the analysis. The aliens had spent 40% of their time examining Earth's military installations, all while claiming to be civilian scientists. They'd asked pointed questions about human response times to threats, disaster recovery protocols, and global communication systems, all disguised as casual curiosity about human society. Back in the council chamber, Amanda continued her presentation, unaware of Cooper's growing suspicions. "Humans have shown remarkable adaptability," she explained, highlighting their spread across Earth's various climates. "However, this appears to be technological compensation for their physical limitations rather than innate capability." High Counselor Angsvith gestured with a crystalline appendage, creating a cascade of rainbow reflections. "What of their potential threat level?" Amanda suppressed a smile. "Minimal. Their weapons are primitive by Council standards, and their physical capabilities place them in the bottom 30% of known sentient species. They're endurance specialists, relying on stamina rather than strength or speed. While they show promising intelligence, they lack the natural advantages that would make them a significant concern." In Houston, Cooper assembled his team in a secure conference room. The walls were lined with photographs of their alien visitors, their movements mapped across various facilities worldwide. "They're looking for something specific," he announced, pointing to the pattern analysis. "Every single research team has focused on our response capabilities, our ability to adapt, our weapons development." "But they're saying we're harmless," Miller interjected, pulling up the latest intercepted communications from the Council observers. Cooper's expression hardened. "Exactly. They're seeing what they expect to see. A young, physically weak species stumbling toward the stars." He paused, studying a particular image of a Xyrex researcher examining military response protocols. "They're not asking the right questions. They're not asking why a weak species dominated their planet. They're not asking how we survived against stronger, faster predators. And most importantly," he tapped the image, "they're not asking why every major human advancement, every single one, has dual applications for both peace and war." As Amanda concluded her presentation to the Galactic Council, Their vote was unanimous. Earth would be classified as a Category 4 developing world, suitable for eventual integration into galactic society with minimal security precautions. The council chambers emptied, the various species departing to attend to other matters, none of them realizing they'd just made the most dangerous miscalculation in galactic history. In Houston, Cooper initiated a new protocol, one that would be mirrored at research centers worldwide. Document everything about their visitors, learn their weaknesses, study their tech, and most importantly, let them underestimate humanity. After all, every good hunter knows the value of patience. Michael Reynolds adjusted his tie in the mirror of his quarters aboard the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel. 20 years in the Marine Corps Force Recon hadn't prepared him for the weight of this moment. Humanity's first official representative to the stars. He smiled, remembering Lieutenant Cooper's parting words. Watch everything. Learn everything. Tell them nothing. The diplomatic reception hall of Station 7 sparkled with bioluminescent crystals, casting rainbow patterns across the gathered alien dignitaries. Reynolds moved through the crowd with practiced ease, his military training masked behind a diplomat's smile. He noted every exit, every security position, every potential choke point, old habits that had kept him alive in too many combat zones to count. Ambassador Reynolds, a melodious voice called out. A Zyrex diplomat approached, crystal body gleaming. We've prepared a traditional entertainment for our new allies. Would you care to participate in the hunt game? Reynolds' eyes lit up with genuine interest. I'd be honored, though I hope you'll forgive my inexperience. The game arena materialized around them, a holographic masterpiece of shifting terrain and moving targets. The Zyrex explained the rules. Track the quantum-shifted prey through 11 dimensions, predict their movement patterns, and tag them with precision energy pulses. It was considered incredibly difficult for most species, requiring years of training to master. Reynolds raised the alien targeting device, his mind already translating the complex movements into familiar patterns. It was just like tracking insurgents through the mountains of Afghanistan, just with a few extra dimensions thrown in. His first shot landed perfectly. Remarkable luck, the Zyrex commented. By his 5th consecutive hit, the alien audience had fallen silent. Reminds me of weekend paintball with my kids, Reynolds said casually, masking how his combat experience had instantly adapted to the new parameters. Though this is much more entertaining. Back on Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Reynolds' real mission was bearing fruit. Dr. Jessica Winters, head of xenobiology analysis, spread out the data from his neural recorder across multiple holoscreens. Look at their response times, she pointed to a graph. The Zyrex crystalline structure makes them virtually invulnerable to kinetic weapons, but their movements are predictable. They follow mathematical patterns they can't break from. Colonel Marcus Hayes, Reynolds' handler, studied the combat implications. Any species that thinks in pure mathematics can be predicted. Keep gathering data on all of them, especially their social patterns and threat responses. On Station 7, Reynolds excelled at his diplomatic duties. He arranged cultural exchanges, trade negotiations, and technological cooperation agreements. Each meeting, each conversation, each seemingly innocent question added to Earth's growing database of alien capabilities and limitations. During a private dinner with the Shareth ambassador, Reynolds watched with fascination as the serpentine alien described their species' greatest warriors. Our venom can kill in seconds, the ambassador boasted, and our scales resist most energy weapons. Impressive. Reynolds nodded, while mentally noting their vulnerable points and behavioral patterns. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our diversity of thought. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we adapt. The Galactic Council's Integration Committee met 2 months into Reynolds' appointment. High Counselor Enxfifth reviewed the progress reports with satisfaction. The humans are exceeding expectations in their cultural adaptation. They show remarkable enthusiasm for learning our ways. A junior analyst, Cavell, raised a concern. They ask many questions about our defensive capabilities and military history. Natural curiosity. HFY dismissed the worry. Remember, they're a species that evolved without significant natural defenses. Their interest in protection systems is understandable. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Hayes reviewed Reynolds' latest data packet. They're giving us everything, he marveled. Combat capabilities, technological weaknesses, social structures, all because they think we're harmless academics and eager students. Dr. Winters pulled up a new analysis. Every species has a fatal flaw. The Zyrex can't adapt quickly to chaos. The Shreth are overconfident in their natural weapons. Even the mighty council relies too heavily on technology they don't fully understand. Reynolds' voice came through the quantum comm, slightly distorted by encryption. They want to start bringing human tourists to other worlds. Cultural exchange programs, they call it. Permission to proceed. Hayes smiled grimly. Granted. Let's show them how enthusiastic humans can be about learning new things. Just remember the prime directive. Watch everything. Learn everything. Tell them nothing. Reynolds replied. Don't worry, Colonel. They still think we're just clever primates playing catch-up with the galaxy. Let's keep it that way. For now. Council Security Officer Stol's office on Station 7 was drowning in reports. The holoscreens surrounding his desk flickered with incident after incident, each seemingly minor on its own. But something about the pattern disturbed his ancestral memories, triggering instincts his species hadn't needed since they'd left their predator-filled homeworld behind. The first report covered Jessica Barnes, a human tourist who'd gotten separated from her group on Nexus VI. The planet's acidic swamps had claimed the lives of even environmental suit-wearing professionals. Yet Barnes, a civilian wearing minimal protection, had survived 3 days alone before rescue teams found her. I just did what any Girl Scout would do, she'd explained cheerfully, while medical scanners showed tissue damage that should have been incapacitating. You learn to improvise in the wilderness. Kexthal's second screen showed David Martinez's diplomatic tour of the Council's primary defense installation. The former Army Ranger had asked such innocent questions, shown such genuine enthusiasm for alien architecture. It wasn't until later that security realized he'd mapped every checkpoint, every patrol pattern, every potential weakness in their supposedly impregnable fortress. Your security systems are fascinating, Martinez had commented, his eyes constantly moving, analyzing. Though I noticed your guards always follow the same routes. On Earth, we found predictability can be problematic. The third incident made Kexthal's scales ripple with unease. Ashley Thompson, the human combat instructor assigned to the Council's cultural exchange program, had been teaching alien species about basic self-defense. Her students praised her patience, her thorough understanding of their physiologies, her ability to adapt techniques to their various body types. Everyone should know how to protect themselves, Thompson had said, recording every training session with meticulous detail. Her reports back to Earth were filled with comprehensive analyses of alien strength levels, reaction times, and physical limitations. In the secure briefing room 3 levels below, Thompson met with Martinez and Barnes. The room's quantum shielding prevented any surveillance, a precaution that would have alarmed Kexthal had he known about it. The Zyrex crystalline forms shatter at specific frequencies, Thompson noted, pulling up her training data. Their warriors compensate with energy shields, but they've never considered someone might use sound as a weapon. Barnes spread out her biological samples from Nexus VI. Their environmental suits are designed for their biology, not ours. They never questioned why I would explore their deadly swamps. They don't understand that humans evolved to handle conditions that would kill most species. Martinez's mapping data floated above the table. Every single security system in Council space is designed to stop technological threats or brute force attacks. They've forgotten how to defend against creativity, against hunters who can think around problems. On the Council's primary military station, General Vix Carr reviewed Kexthal's compiled reports with growing irritation. These incidents are meaningless, he declared, his crystalline form vibrating with dismissal. Humans are showing expected curiosity about their new galactic neighbors. Their survival capabilities, while impressive for their classification, pose no threat to advanced species. Kexthel's report continued up the chain of command, ignored at each level. The Council's bureaucracy, efficient at handling known threats, had no framework for recognizing the subtle signs of apex predators at work. In Earth's combined military command, hidden beneath the Antarctic ice, General Sarah Mitchell reviewed the incoming data streams from their scattered operatives. Each incident, each seemingly innocent interaction, added to humanity's growing understanding of their galactic neighbors. They still think we're harmless scientists and tourists, she mused, studying the holographic display of known alien weaknesses. How many more incidents before they start asking the right questions? Colonel Hayes, now coordinating multiple infiltration teams, shook his head. They're too confident in their technological superiority. They see our adaptability as charming rather than threatening. By the time they understand what we are, it'll be too late. In his office, Kexthel filed one final report before ending his shift. The words glowed ominously on his screen. Human capabilities exceed all known parameters for their classification. Recommend immediate review of security protocols. The report disappeared into the Council's vast database, unread and unheeded, while humanity's hunters continued their patient observation of their unwitting prey. The passenger liner, Star Wanderer, drifted silently through the Carina Nebula, its quantum drives humming with the soft precision of Council engineering. In the observation lounge, Thomas Richardson, former Navy SEAL, watched the swirling purple gases outside while mentally marking every structural weakness in the ship's design. Beautiful view, isn't it? Captain Isaacsavol, the ship's Xyrex commander, approached with the characteristic crystalline chime of his species. I trust our human passengers are comfortable. Richardson smiled, hiding his assessment of how quickly the captain's crystalline form could be shattered at the right frequency. Very comfortable, thank you. Though I noticed your emergency protocols seem designed primarily for evacuation rather than defense. Pirates avoid Council space. Tuxavol chimed confidently. Our automated systems deter any threats. 6 hours later, those words would come back to haunt him. The Crimson Claw pirates struck during the ship's night cycle, their modified warship emerging from quantum space like a predatory shadow. Their reputation for brutality had spread across 3 sectors, their crew composed of outcast warriors from various species who preferred violence to civilization. Soft targets. Commander Krithak of the Crimson Claw purred, his serpentine body coiled in his command chair. Standard procedure. Disable their engines. Breach the hull. Take anything valuable. Kill anyone who resists. The pirates didn't expect resistance. They certainly didn't expect Thomas Richardson. As warning sirens blared through the Star Wanderer, Richardson gathered the other tourists in Cargo Bay 3. Sarah Cooper, former Army combat engineer. Michael Reeves, Marine Force Recon. Emily Chen, CIA field operative. All of them supposedly civilian passengers. They've cut off the bridge, Richardson assessed, pulling up the ship's schematics on his neural link. Standard Council emergency protocols are useless. Time to show them how humans handle hunters. In the maintenance corridor of Deck 6, 2 Shreth pirates moved confidently toward the passenger quarters, their natural armor gleaming. They never saw the improvised sonic device that shattered their crystalline weapons. They never even heard the humans moving in the darkness. Engineering deck secured. Krithak's tactical officer reported. No resistance from the crew. Moving to passenger sections now. Sir, another officer interrupted. We've lost contact with teams 2 and 4. Krithak dismissed the concern. Council ships have automated defense systems. Override them and continue the operation. In the darkness of the cargo hold, Richardson's team had transformed common tools and emergency equipment into an arsenal. They're hunting us like we're prey, he told his team, checking their improvised weapons. Let's show them what happens when you corner a predator. The pirates' next teams encountered a ship transformed into a killing ground. Emergency bulkheads closed without warning, separating their forces. Life support failed in targeted sections. Makeshift explosives detonated at key junctions. And in the darkness, humans moved with practiced efficiency, using their supposedly inferior physical capabilities to devastating effect. "They're in the walls," one pirate transmitted frantically. "They're picking us apart, using our own movements against us. They're not running. They're not hiding. They're—" The transmission cut off. Krathak watched in growing horror as his boarding teams went silent one by one. The humans weren't fighting like civilized warriors. They were hunting, using tactics that spoke of millennia of combat evolution. They understood darkness, confined spaces, the psychology of fear. In the ship's neural network, Sarah Cooper's hacking skills turned environmental systems into weapons. Michael Reeves' combat experience guided them through the ship's architecture like a jungle gym. Emily Chen's intelligence training helped predict and counter every pirate tactic. And Richardson, moving through maintenance shafts with predatory grace, demonstrated why humans had earned their place as Earth's apex predators. When Council reinforcements arrived 6 hours later, they found the Star Wanderer secure and the pirate threat eliminated. The human passengers, led by Richardson, had fortunately managed to hide and survive according to the official report. The true story, whispered among the surviving pirates in maximum security cells, told a different tale. They spoke of shadows that moved with purpose, of prey that turned out to be predators, of a species that hadn't just fought back. They had hunted their hunters with terrifying efficiency. In the Council's incident report, filed and quickly classified, one phrase stood out: human defensive capabilities require immediate reassessment. Current classification may be critically inaccurate. Dr. William Hayes stood in his laboratory aboard the Council's research station Echo, staring at the decoded data streaming across his holographic display. Behind him, his alien research team watched in growing horror as humanity's true history unfolded before them. "This can't be correct," muttered Crivel, the Zyrex data analyst, his crystalline form vibrating with distress. "Your species deliberately engineered projectile weapons to pierce organic armor, thousands of years before achieving spaceflight." Hayes nodded absently, still scrolling through the military archives they'd finally decrypted. "The spear was one of our first inventions. We learned early that distance killing gave us an advantage over stronger prey." The research station's quantum processors continued breaking through Earth's electronic encryption, revealing layer after layer of human history. Each revelation painted a clearer picture of what humanity truly was, not the peaceful, weak species they'd been classified as, but something far more dangerous. "Your children," whispered Anxulara, the Shreth cynobiologist, her scales rippling with shock. "You train them in combat techniques disguised as games. This hide and seek, it's predator stalking behavior. Tag develops pursuit skills. Even your sports are ritualized combat." In the corner, Vexithal, the team's Zixte empath, curled their tendrils inward. "The emotional resonance in these military archives. Your soldiers feel pride in their hunting capabilities. You don't just kill for survival. You perfect it as an art form." Hayes watched as the screens displayed humanity's endless wars, their constant drive to improve their killing efficiency. "We turned our greatest weaknesses into strengths," he explained. "We're not the strongest, so we learned to target weak points. We're not the fastest, so we learned to track prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We're not naturally armored, so we learned to kill from beyond our enemy's reach." The next data set made Crivel's crystalline form pale to near transparency. "Your space program. Every peaceful advancement had a military application calculated before implementation. Your first rockets were weapons before they were exploration tools. Necessity breeds innovation," Hayes commented, knowing each word was being recorded and analyzed. "When you're surrounded by faster, stronger predators, you either evolve or die. We chose to evolve." In a secure chamber 12 levels below, Commander Elizabeth Blackwood received the encrypted transmission from Hayes. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The aliens were finally discovering exactly what they'd invited into their galactic community. As Section 7 completed their analysis of alien combat capabilities, she asked her staff. Colonel James Matthews nodded, pulling up detailed technical specifications. Every piece of alien technology we've encountered has a critical flaw. They never expected anyone to think like a human predator. Their defenses are designed to stop force, not cunning. Their weapons are built for direct confrontation, not asymmetrical warfare. On the research level, Hayes' team had reached humanity's prehistoric records. The sixth-eye empath was visibly shaking now. You drove multiple species to extinction before developing written language, Crivel noted, his voice trembling. Your ancestors killed prey larger and stronger than themselves through coordinated pack hunting and tool use. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. We learned early that intelligence and cooperation could overcome any physical advantage. The lone human might be weak, but a coordinated group of humans, well, we became apex predators for a reason. Axelara's analysis of human physiology took on new meaning. Your endurance, your pattern recognition, your throw accuracy, your problem-solving skills. These aren't random traits. You're perfectly engineered pursuit predators who developed intelligence as a hunting tool. In the Council's central database, the research team's findings began triggering long-dormant security protocols. Species-wide alerts started propagating through the network as artificial intelligence systems reassessed humanity's threat classification. There's something else, Hayes added, watching the aliens' growing realization. Something you haven't considered yet. Every predatory species you've encountered evolved to be weaker once they achieved technological supremacy. But humans, we never stopped being hunters. We just got better at it. The final piece of data decrypted, revealing humanity's full military capability assessment of every known alien species. The research team stared in horror at the methodical analysis of their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, their patterns. They hadn't discovered humanity. They'd exposed themselves to the galaxy's most sophisticated predators, a species that had turned hunting into a science and warfare into an art form. Emily Jackson adjusted her civilian contractor uniform, hiding a smile as the Crix ambassador stomped past her security team. The border dispute between the Crix and Volans had escalated beyond the Council's ability to contain, and in their desperation, they'd turned to human peacekeepers. It was like asking wolves to guard sheep, but the Council hadn't realized that yet. The Volans crossed the neutral zone again. The Crix ambassador bellowed, his armored carapace clicking with agitation. They're testing our defenses, preparing for invasion. We demand immediate military action. The Volan representative, a graceful being of living crystal, chimed in disagreement. We were pursuing pirates. The Crix are using this as an excuse for their military buildup. Jackson caught her second-in-command's eye. Commander Mark Stevens, former Delta Force, gave an almost imperceptible nod. They'd both seen this pattern before, two sides posturing for war, each believing their advanced technology made them invincible. If the Council permits, Jackson stepped forward, her voice carefully modulated to Project Calm Authority. My team can establish a temporary security corridor. We'll ensure no unauthorized crossings from either side. The Council representatives, desperate to prevent another sector war, quickly agreed. They didn't notice the predatory gleam in Jackson's eyes as she deployed her peacekeepers. In the command center they'd established on a nearby asteroid, Jackson's true operation began. Sarah Rodriguez, their electronic warfare specialist, had already compromised both species' communication networks. Michael Chen, their tactical advisor, had mapped every patrol route and defensive position. Look at their battle formations, Chen mused, studying the holographic display. The Crix rely on overwhelming force, the Volans on superior technology. Neither species understands true tactical warfare. Jackson activated her neural link to the team's secure network. Execute Protocol Ghost Hunter. Within hours, both the Krix and Volan military commanders began reporting strange occurrences. Supply lines were disrupted by technical malfunctions. Key communication relays experienced mysterious failures. Strategic positions became mysteriously untenable. They're using their own aggressive instincts against them. Stevens observed as they watched another Krix battle group withdraw from a compromised position. Sun Tzu would be proud. In her private quarters, Jackson reviewed the psychological warfare aspects of their operation. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, hadn't engaged in direct combat. Instead, they'd done what humans did best. They'd turned the environment itself into a weapon. Status report, she commanded through the neural link. Phase 1 complete, Rodriguez responded. Both sides are experiencing unexplained equipment failures. Their military command structures are starting to show stress fractures. Phase 2 initiated, Chen added. We've leaked evidence suggesting both sides have infiltrated each other's high command. Their paranoia is doing our work for us. The Council observers watched in amazement as the human peacekeepers systematically dismantled the military capabilities of both species without apparent effort. They didn't understand that they were watching millennia of human combat evolution in action. Notice how they never directly engage. One Council analyst noted, they're using psychological warfare techniques we've never encountered before. In the Asteroid Command Center, Jackson's team continued their work. They'd studied both species thoroughly before accepting this mission. The Krix, with their hive mind military structure, were vulnerable to communication disruption. The Volans, dependent on their advanced technology, crumbled when that technology became unreliable. They're starting to realize something's wrong, Stevens reported, monitoring the encrypted communications of both sides. But they can't prove anything. We're not fighting them. We're hunting them. By the fourth day, both the Krix and Volan military commands were in chaos. Their soldiers refused to follow orders, fearing infiltration. Their weapons systems couldn't be trusted. Their secure communications were compromised. When Jackson presented her progress report to the Council, she maintained a professional demeanor. The situation has been contained, she stated simply. Both sides have agreed to return to pre-conflict positions. The Council celebrated their human peacekeepers' success, never understanding that they'd just witnessed humanity's most dangerous capability, the ability to defeat an enemy without ever engaging in direct combat. In her final report, encrypted and sent to Earth Command, Jackson wrote, Operation successful. Both species' military capabilities thoroughly analyzed and cataloged. Weaknesses identified and exploited. They never saw the hunters hiding behind the peacekeepers' smiles. Admiral Robert Stone stood before the Emergency Council session, his dress uniform immaculate, his posture relaxed yet commanding. The chamber, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of species, had never felt so silent. Behind him, holographic displays showed classified footage from a dozen different encounters with humanity. Distinguished members of the Council, Stone began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of military tradition. You asked for an explanation of human combat doctrine. I'm here to provide that clarity. High Counselor Angsvith's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained anxiety. You understand. Admiral, recent events have raised concerns about human military capabilities. Stone smiled, the same smile a wolf might give to a rabbit. Let's start with the basics. You've all classified humans as physically inferior to most spacefaring species. That was your first mistake. The displays shifted to show human hunting techniques throughout history. While you evolved to be stronger, faster, more heavily armored, we evolved to be smarter hunters. Every human child learns to analyze weaknesses, track movement patterns, and improvise weapons before they learn to write. The Shureth ambassador hissed in disagreement. Yet your species lacks natural weapons, has no significant armor, and possesses limited sensory capabilities. Precisely. Stone nodded. which is why we learn to kill at a distance, to use terrain as a weapon, to turn an enemy's strength against them. When you can't overpower your prey, you learn to outsmart it. Commander Jessica Chen, Stone's tactical officer, stepped forward with the next set of displays. "This is footage from your own security systems," she explained, showing humans adapting alien technology in ways its creators never imagined. Every tool you gave us, every technology you shared, we automatically assessed for its combat potential. It's hardwired into our psychology. The council chamber erupted in murmurs as they watched humans transforming civilian equipment into weapons, turning environmental systems into tactical advantages, and analyzing alien physiologies for vulnerabilities. "But your species showed no signs of aggressive expansion," protested a ZXT representative, their tendrils writhing in distress. "Your military forces seemed minimal." Stone's laugh sent chills through the chamber. "We haven't needed a large standing military for centuries. Every human is a potential soldier. Every civilian knows basic combat techniques. We turned our entire species into a sleeping army while you watched our peaceful facade." The displays showed human children playing games, hide and seek, capture the flag, paintball. "These aren't just entertainments," Chen explained. "They're combat training disguised as play. Every human instinctively understands stealth, tactical positioning, and target acquisition." In the upper tiers of the chamber, security officers began to move nervously. Stone noticed their discomfort with satisfaction. They were finally beginning to understand. "Let me be clear," he continued, pulling up detailed analyses of every major alien species' combat capabilities. "From the moment we met your civilizations, we've been studying you. Every diplomatic mission included military analysts. Every cultural exchange taught us your weaknesses. Every technology sharing program showed us your limitations." The displays shifted again, showing simulation after simulation of human forces systematically dismantling alien defenses. "We don't just fight wars," Stone explained. "We hunt our enemies. We study them. We learn their patterns. And when we strike, we've already won." High Counselor Angsvith's crystalline form had paled to near transparency. "These simulations, they're hypothetical, surely. They're battle plans," Chen corrected. "Continuously updated, refined, and improved. We have detailed strategies for defeating every species in this chamber. Not out of hostility, but because that's what predators do. We analyze every potential threat." Stone gestured to the final display, showing the full extent of human military preparation. "You've spent centuries forgetting how to be predators. You've let technology replace instinct. But humans, we never stopped being hunters. We just became better at it." The chamber fell into stunned silence as the council finally understood the truth. They hadn't discovered a promising young species to guide. They'd invited apex predators into their midst, handed them advanced technology, and shown them every weakness in their galactic civilization. "This concludes my briefing," Stone announced to the shell-shocked council. "I trust you now understand why reclassifying humanity's threat level might be prudent." Catherine Kate Morrison walked the crystalline halls of the council's emergency containment chamber, her diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the heavily armed alien security forces lining the walls. The recent revelation of humanity's true nature had sent shockwaves through galactic civilization, and now the Council scrambled to contain what they saw as an existential threat. "The Council will see you now, Ambassador Morrison," a nervous ZXT-8 announced, their tendrils carefully maintaining distance from the human. Kate entered the chamber, noting how the gathered representatives flinched at her approach. Fear had replaced their former condescension, and she could practically taste their anxiety in the air. A predator's instinct, passed down through countless generations of human evolution. "Honorable Council," she began, her voice carrying the dangerous grace of a prowling cat. "I understand you've been discussing containment protocols for Earth." High Counselor Angsvith's crystalline form vibrated with barely suppressed tension. "Surely you understand our concerns, Ambassador." Your species has demonstrated capabilities that far exceed your classification." Kate's smile made several representatives shrink back in their seats. "About that, our deep space sensors detected your fleet movements. All 16 battle groups attempting to establish a quarantine perimeter around Earth's sector." The council chamber erupted in chaos. The humans shouldn't have been able to detect those ships, shouldn't have known about the containment plan. "Perhaps," Kate continued, activating a holographic display, "you should be more concerned about the human outposts we've already established throughout your territory." The display showed dozens of hidden bases, research stations, and military installations scattered across council space. Each one had been carefully positioned near critical infrastructure or strategic locations. "Impossible," a Shreth commander hissed. "Our security networks would have detected." "Your networks," Kate interrupted. "The ones designed by companies that employ human consultants. The ones protected by protocols that human cybersecurity experts helped develop." In the Council's military command center, alarms began blaring as system after system reported unauthorized access. Decades of human infiltration had left no network untouched, no defense truly secure. "We're not here to conquer you," Kate assured them, though her predatory smile remained. "Humanity has evolved beyond such primitive impulses. We don't want your territories or your resources. We simply ensure we're never prey again." Commander Chen's voice echoed through the chamber's communication system, a system that should have been secure. "All human assets are in position, Ambassador. The Council's military networks have been temporarily suspended as a demonstration." Kate watched realization dawn across alien faces. They hadn't invited humans into their civilization. They'd exposed themselves to the galaxy's most sophisticated predators. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every technological sharing program had been a careful campaign of infiltration. "You should know," Kate added, almost casually, "that human children learn about the fall of empires before they learn algebra. We understand that technological superiority means nothing without the instincts to use it properly. You forgot how to be predators. We never did." The Council's emergency defense protocols attempted to activate. Nothing responded. Decades of human observation had revealed every weakness, every backdoor, every flaw in their systems. "Here's what happens now," Kate announced to the stunned silence. "Earth will be reclassified as a Category 1 civilization, with all appropriate privileges. Our outposts will be officially recognized. And in return, we'll continue to do what we've been doing all along, keeping the peace in our corner of the galaxy." "You mean controlling us through fear?" Engsfith accused. Kate's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Control you? Why would we bother? You're not our prey. You're not our enemies. You're our neighbors. We just happen to be the neighbors who evolved as pursuit predators with a gift for strategic thinking." As Kate left the chamber, her final words hung in the air like a prophecy. The galaxy asked itself if it was alone in the universe. It should have asked if it was ready to meet humanity, a species that turned predation into an art form, hunting into a science, and warfare into a masterpiece of evolutionary perfection. In the years that followed, the galaxy adapted to a new reality. Humanity wasn't just another civilization joining galactic society. They were the apex predators who had chosen to be peaceful, the hunters who had decided to protect rather than conquer. And every species learned an important lesson. Never mistake humanity's civility for weakness. It's simply a predator's choice not to hunt.